pretty much every field, everywhere you look, AI is in our lives already. Now, what happened in November 2022 was ChatGPT was released, and it made it accessible to normal everyday people to be able to interact with AI and see what it can do for them. Before that, you needed huge amounts of investment to hire engineers to collect the data, to perfect the algorithms.
Welcome back to the Money Seed Podcast. Today, my guest is Manuj Aggarwal. Manuj is an author, an entrepreneur, an AI expert, a startup advisor. He has an amazing rags to riches story. Manuj, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Manuj, I believe these days you are living in Vancouver, British Columbia. You run your own company called Tetra Noodle, but you started out on the other side of the world. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, that's a long story. I grew up in India in a very small town, and I started my career at age 15. And the first career that I had was working in a factory for $2 a day. And it was pretty backbreaking work, 6 days a week and 12 hours a day. And I just wanted to, get out of that situation as quickly as possible. And I didn't know where life is going to take me or how I was going to change my life. But I got some inspiration reading about success stories of other business tycoons in some business magazines. So I thought to myself, if these people can change their life, then anybody should be able to change their life. So that sort of triggered me to look for other skills I can acquire, other ways I can create more value in the world. And I landed up in a computer programming course where I learned programming, and basically I just fell in love with that. And I knew that technology was going to be my way to break out of that situation and sort of make an impact on the world. And then I moved to North America, got a series of jobs and lost series of jobs in quick succession, because that was a sort of a turbulent time, exciting time. .com boom, .com bust, September 11th, Gulf War, all of those things were happening. So, which basically sort of forced me into, building my own company, forced me into entrepreneurship. So I was doing the exact same thing that I was doing in a job, but now I was working with multiple clients, helping startups build their products and bring them to market. And then I also got a chance to work with Fortune 500 companies like Microsoft and IBM and Pearson Education. So I saw a very good spectrum of multiple industries, how they work, multiple businesses, large, small, how they operate in the world. And so that was the foundation upon which, I built my career. And just going through those ups and downs, just keeping my focus on utilizing the latest technologies to build the most impactful products led me to, now I have about 4 patents in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I was recognized as a global thought leader in AI. So all of those things sort of culminated towards today, where I am, and now talking to you, sharing my experience with you.
So Manuj, let's talk a little bit more about that transition from working for someone else to working for yourself, right? Because when you're working for someone else, they tell you what you got to do. You have a narrow focus, and I imagine that most of your jobs in North America were in tech, right? Like you learned about computers when you were living in India, you moved to North America, you start working in tech. But when you have a company yourself, you're trying to build a business, you need a whole bunch of different skill sets. What were some of the skill sets that you really had to pick up quick after you started your company?
So funny enough, the first thing that and this did not come to me earlier on in my career, it came very late, but communication and building relationships. That was one thing that, again, coming from an engineer's background, most engineers, and I'm generalizing, so please don't take offense, but I know a lot of engineers are introverts, and we are not like taught to, connect with people, just have a good conversation. What we are taught is how to measure things, how to like stay in a black and white sort of life, whether it's true or false. There is no in between. And life, as we know, is multiple shades of gray. And the other thing is that earlier on in my career, I thought, oh, I have all these skills and these are marketable skills. So I don't need to worry about learning any other skill like marketing or sales or anything like that. I can just be in the market and people will just find me. And that is not true at all. Like, it's a very, very noisy world. So I had to learn how to build a brand, how to market yourself, how do you sell yourself? And it's still a work in progress, but those are some critical things which are even more important than the core technical skill that you bring to the table. Because what I found was those skills are dime a dozen. Like, there are so many people who can do what I do. But in order to work with a client, how to relate to them, how to listen to their requirements, how to empathize with their situation, that's the key skill that business owners need in order to, make really good progress in their business.
I agree fully. It's very difficult for engineers to market themselves, right? Because like you said, most engineers are introverts. I think one of the ways that you can really see this is very few engineers end up in politics.
Yes.
If you look at, for example, how many members in Congress are engineers, or how many members in the Canadian House of Commons are engineers, it's actually very surprisingly few, considering how many engineering graduates there are.
Yes.
It's because naturally we're attracted to numbers and things and not necessarily people.
Exactly.
Manuj, when you started developing these skills like marketing and communication, and your business started to take traction, how long did it take you before your business replaced a full-time income? And you said, okay, you know what? My business is doing well. I'm making as much as I was in my jobs, and I don't have to go back to a regular 9-to-5 jobs working for someone else.
As I said earlier, I didn't even get that chance because it was an abrupt sort of end to my employment. And that was, I think, the fourth job I lost in 3 years. So not because of me, not because of company, whatever their decision, but the economy and the environment around us was turbulent. So I just had to figure out a way to replace my income, as quickly as possible. Luckily, I had good reputation in the small Vancouver community. This is 23 years ago. It was relatively small. So I did get good clients almost right away. And then it was basically a way to build it up and work with larger corporations and things of that nature. But as always, even if you have a business that is growing, there is always going to be changes. 2008 happened, business slowed down. And now with COVID, we took a hit because a lot of people were not investing in major digital transformation projects, at least for the offerings that we were offering. And now it looks like it's back on because of AI and all that. And we have expertise in AI. So business is always up and down. I will say people who are looking for a very safe, sort of income coming in every month, and they are transitioning from 9-to-5 job, they will need some mindset adjustment because business works in spurts. Like, you'll have some good quarters, some okay quarters, and maybe some bad quarters.
It seems like when people start their company and they start to grow and they start to hire people, and now they got to focus on marketing and they got to focus on growing the business, etc., they have less and less time to spend on the actual technical side of things. Do you still have time to play with the computers and the technical side of things?
I do a little bit, but what happens is, let's say if you are a bricklayer, a mason, after laying few thousand bricks, you can tell other people how to lay bricks, right? So the way to scale yourself is to hire people who are smart, most likely, and preferably smarter than you, so that they can fill in more gaps and cover your blind spots. And then you teach them your ways, and then you get them to do the work that you can do under your guidance. And that way you can scale yourself. So now I do more of that rather than the actual technical stuff.
And how big is your company now?
So we have about 15 full-time employees, and we have partners. We take on larger projects, but I don't. What I want to do is, my philosophy is to take things easy and enjoy life. So we try to use a sort of a franchise model where we take on the projects, we are responsible for the delivery and the quality and everything, but the work gets done by partners who have larger teams, and they specialize in staff augmentation and supplying those technical resources.
And how did you choose the name Tetra Noodle?
Yes. So that's a funny story, because as I said earlier, especially when I was starting, I had no idea about marketing or what can be a catchy name. I was just puzzled for several months. I was like, okay, what should be the name? And one day I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, just pick a name. And my friends and I, we used to frequent a restaurant chain here in Vancouver called Noodle Box. So one day we were just sitting there, and I said, hey, Noodle Box seems like a good name. And I was just making a joke. And my friend said, yeah, that's a catchy name. I was like, really? This is a technology company. Don't you think people will like, what is this name about? They're like, no. Like, think about Apple. Think about, and they gave me some other examples. I was like, okay, fine. Let's pick something, inspired by that restaurant. So here we are with Noodle Box.
I think you did well, because it's a memorable name. It's hard to forget that name, right?
Yes.
But it's surprisingly difficult it's surprisingly difficult to pick a good name for a product or a good name for a company. Like, it sounds easy, but it's actually not. So good job on that one.
Yeah.
And so, when was the first time you heard the phrase AI?
Well, AI, I think very early on, like around 2000, 2001, because of, my whole career has been in technology, playing with data. And when, and then you watch these science fiction movies, The Terminator, and these TV series, you already pick up the term AI. Now, technically, the term has gone through so many iterations. Some people call it data analytics, some people call it whatever. So the concept I have been familiar with since the year 2000, and I started working on a project in 2007 that was related to educational technology, helping build personalized curriculums for students using artificial intelligence.
So you were working on AI apps as early as 2007.
Yes. Yeah.
That's much earlier than I would have thought, because to me, it seems like AI really just hit public consciousness as something that's in products and available in apps, really like over the last maybe 8 years, 10 years max, right? But it seems like you were actually doing stuff a lot earlier than that.
See, AI has been around actually since the 70s. Now, the thing is that it has been implemented in various products and services, especially after the internet came along. AI has been incorporated since even, I think, 90s. If we think about how the common public has been using AI, I believe even products like the iPhone or the smartphone, when it was launched, it has a whole bunch of AI capabilities, AI algorithms built into it. It's just that it was all hidden underneath the covers, and we didn't realize what was going on, right? But if today you look at your world around you, pretty much every field, everywhere you look, AI is in our lives already. Now, what happened in November 2022 was ChatGPT was released, and it made it accessible to normal everyday people to be able to interact with AI and see what it can do for them. Before that, you needed huge amounts of investment to hire engineers to collect the data, to perfect the algorithms. So people who had the means and the know-how, they utilized AI for tremendous gains. In fact, the richest people on this planet became rich because of AI, right? Amazon, Facebook, Tesla Motor Company, SpaceX, all these are AI companies. So now when people can like actually interact with it without any effort, now people realize how powerful this technology is. So that is sort of the transition that happened from a closed knit community of users of AI, and now billions of people using it.
I think that leads into my next question, which was going to be, what, in your opinion, what are the companies over the next 5 or 10 years that are going to benefit the most from AI? And I'm asking this in a really selfish way. Let me ask it more bluntly, is where should I invest? Which stocks do you think are really going to do well over the next 5 or 10 years?
I think every industry is going to be disrupted, but I believe finance industry, insurance industry, anything to do with customer service, anything to do with anything to do with where personal relationships are important, that industry will flourish. The reason is a lot of the other industries where there is a lot of repetitive or mechanical work, that will be pretty much replaced by AI or robotics. But where you have to maintain personal relationships or talk to clients or or understand their requirements, that industry is going to flourish. So another one will be healthcare, obviously, because a lot of the things will be taken over by machines, but the role that the doctors and the nurses and the staff plays, that will that will become more important. So the emotional intelligence will be rewarded more rather than the your IQ. So any industry which is EQ heavy, I think that will do really, really well.
And there's a lot of talk about AI being dangerous, right? It's very easy to see the benefits of AI. For example, AI can look at X-rays and can detect tumors better than a doctor can, or AI can recognize photos in your phone better than a human can and faster than a human can. What are some of the dangers, and why is there such a, maybe if I can use the word hysteria, right? There are some people who are really raising the red flag and saying AI is dangerous. What are your thoughts on that?
See, the first thing is that humans have always reacted this way whenever a new technology has been created. So, when the internet was becoming popular in 1992, we had the whole hysteria about Y2K, if people can remember, right? Then with the smartphone, there has been a huge amount of fear about it causing brain cancer and whatnot. So humans have the tendency to fear what is unknown. On top of that, as I mentioned, these Hollywood movies like Terminator, they have not done a really good job in portraying what AI is and how it will be used. So, in the absence of good, clear information from trusted sources, people naturally gravitate to fear-based. Whatever fear-based piece of content they have witnessed. Then the other thing is this fear of job loss, which is a very near and dear. People depend on their livelihood, so that hits very close to home. And when you hear news headlines like 10,000 jobs gone, these many jobs gone, people start to get worried about it. So these are just basically human reactions, human emotions. But what I say to people is, use AI. Just sign up for a free ChatGPT account. Just play around with it for half an hour, because the fear always arises from the unknown aspect of whatever we are dealing with. But once you become known with what you're dealing with, then it becomes easier, it becomes approachable, and the fear subsides.
I would also add to that the media really likes negative stories. The media tries to amplify the fear and they amplify the negative stories. I always feel like those are the majority of the stories that come across to me, whether it's COVID or whether it's AI or whatever. It's usually the negative ones that are at the top of my feed.
So to that, I will add one thing, if people don't realize it, because all these news headlines are also driven by AI. And these AI algorithms are optimized to get clicks. And how do you get clicks? Again, human nature is to click on something that's sensational or fear-based or whatever. So these algorithms are actually doing the job of creating the fear about AI. It's a very vicious circle.
And what are some books or movies that you think really got AI correct?
I think movies like Wall-E, I don't watch a lot of movies, so not a lot of names are coming to mind, but um, you can, okay, let me just use real world examples, right? So if people don't realize, COVID vaccine, and again, I want to stay away from the political debate about, how good or bad they were. But the fact is that vaccines were invented using AI. If AI was not around, we would still most likely be under lockdowns, because we were able to get out of that lockdown because of the availability of the vaccine, and vaccines were, basically just fast tracked within months using AI. Now we talked about Tesla, we talked about Amazon. We are able to get our package the next day because Amazon even optimizes the route that their pickers take within their warehouses, going from one end or to the other, picking things from the rack. So they use AI to optimize their route for the fastest delivery point. Same thing with SpaceX. We are able to land rockets back on Earth in the middle of the ocean because AI is doing all the hard calculations in real time and figuring out how to balance those rockets, right?
So you mentioned Amazon and SpaceX. I'm taking notes, Manuj. So those are good investments?
Absolutely,
I'm kidding.
absolutely. I have to put up the financial disclaimer though. Yeah.
I believe right now you are working on a project where you're using AI to help with investments in the market, correct?
Actually, I did that work. I don't do that work anymore because it's I have strong opinions about that right now. Okay, so what happened was in 2008, I lost quite a bit of my savings because of the financial crisis. So that forced me to learn about the financial market. Before that, I didn't know anything about it. So I created some algorithms to, start trading the stocks and start picking the stocks, which, by the way, worked really well. Okay, so the algorithms work very well, but anybody who has been in the financial markets for any amount of time, they will they will tell you it's not about the technology or the algorithm, it's about your human mind. Can you deal with the stress of trading in and out and looking at the screen all day long? So that was one aspect why I tried to create algorithms which did not need so much interaction with the screen. The second thing which I learned was 90% of the financial transactions in the world today are done by machines. These massively powerful algorithms which are trading with each other and creating these transactions. So a human has no chance to, deal with these robots. So that's the reason. But I know quite a bit about financial markets and how these algorithms work.
Manuj, right now, if you were talking to somebody in their late teens who is looking to study something at college, what would you recommend? What do you think are going to be the careers of the future?
I will highly recommend, first of all, learn communications, learn about empathy, learn about self-awareness. These are not the topics that typically people will recommend, or somebody coming from an engineering background will recommend. But these are the foundational things. Whatever you do in your life, whether you go into a corporate career or business, the more relationships you can build, the more you will progress. And relationships are built based on good, meaningful conversations, by listening to people, understanding their pain points. And once you have that good understanding, then you can utilize your skills, whether you are finance expert, whether you are technology expert, marketing expert. Once you are able to really understand your audience and their pain points, you can use those skills and create value for yourself and for your clients, for your employer. So these are the fundamental things. The next wave of technology, in my I believe, as I said earlier as well, will be to have more meaningful connection with other human beings. We are entering a post-thinking era. Thinking is no longer going to be very fruitful, because machines will be able to think much faster and deeper than us. So what will be left is our emotional side of our humanity.
Amazing. One last question before we wrap it up. Do you have any tips for people in their, say, mid-30s to mid-40s in terms of planning for retirement or thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, financial planning, financial health?
Yes. Okay. So there are two aspects. One, entrepreneurship is a little bit at odds with financial health, if I can be honest, right? So, but it is very, very conducive to you realizing your fullest potential. So if people are brave enough to say, okay, what am I made of? Let me figure out my limits. Then you can go into entrepreneurship. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of sleepless nights, but you will grow as a person. In terms of just having a safety net, I will start. One piece of advice that I got was start putting away a little bit of money going out of your your bank account into a savings account on regular basis automatically. So let's say if you can afford $100, if you can afford $200, whatever it is, make sure it goes out of your account into a savings account automatically, and if possible invest that savings amount on regular basis into index funds, ETFs, which are exchange traded funds. Some of them are based on these stock indexes like S&P 500 or something along those lines. So you can invest in these index ETFs, and these are very low priced stocks. What that does is, as a general investor, you don't have to look for the next big Microsoft or SpaceX or like that next best investment tip, because when you invest in an index fund, you are basically investing in the whole country, and historically speaking, that compounds over 10% per year over year. So if you do that over several decades, you will be pretty happy.
That's actually a good way to look at it. I mean, if you are buying, let's say, the S&P 500 or QQQ, most of the big companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, they're going to be in there. So if those companies do really well, you're going to see some of that reflected in your ETF. So that's actually not a bad way to look at it. Yeah, exactly. Very good.
Yeah.
Manuj, I really enjoyed speaking with you today. Thank you very much for your time. Where can people reach out to you to learn more?
Well, thanks. I enjoyed this conversation myself. So if you want to connect with me, find me on LinkedIn. Let me know you heard me on this podcast and how we may be able to help you reach your full potential.
Fantastic. And Manuj, I realized that when I introduced you at the beginning, there's a whole bunch of different adjectives I forgot, such as you are a fellow podcaster, you are a motivational speaker, and I look forward to hearing from you more in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Money Seed Podcast. Please remember to click like and subscribe. It really helps spread the message to other investors, and it helps attract new viewers to the show. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much.